Hey there, it's Mike Cooch. Hey, as I'm recording this video, it's late August. We're about to hit September, and I am actually starting my annual planning process for my business for next year. And that may seem early to you to get started on this process. It did to me for years, actually. For about a dozen years, I would start my annual planning process. I would do a little bit of homework in November, but in December is when I had the days on the calendar booked to sit down and actually go through the process of creating my plans and answering all the questions and doing all the homework that was required to really create a plan. But what happened over the years, and I did it that way for about a dozen years, but what happened over the years is I realized, every December is kind of a mess. You've got the holidays, you've got New Year coming up in the very beginning of January, you've got people that are traveling for the holidays, people just want to take time off during the holidays to do, whatever. I had parties I wanted to go to, things like that. And so what would happen is I would start January without a truly fully baked plan. I would have a plan that was close. I would have some, pretty clear, but still, a bit fuzzy ideas in my head of exactly what we were going to do and how we were going to do it. It wasn't quite well documented and laid down in a step-by-step fashion like I wanted it to be. And so it would be, towards the end of January before I would really get the momentum going that I wanted to have in that plan at the very beginning of January. And that's no way to start the year, right? You want to start the year absolutely jumping out of the gates, full speed, knowing that you've got a plan that you're really confident in and you know exactly how you're going to execute it. So if you are used to starting your process late, or hopefully you have a process, I know many entrepreneurs, are winging it a bit and you don't really have a planning process, that's a huge mistake. I can assure you that you will always get more growth and more results if you have a planning process. So make sure you have one. But if you're starting it in December like I was, I highly encourage you to use the months of September, October, and November to get a really fully baked plan so that you're going into December with your plan nailed down for January 1. That way you can go into December and just relax, okay? Which is why this moving this back in the calendar is so important for me right now. Is my business is a lifestyle business now. I'm not trying to raise venture capital. I'm not trying to sell the business or anything like that. It's about creating my lifestyle that I want. And I have kids, and my kids are going to be out of school for a lot of December. And I want to be able to enjoy the holidays with them, go skiing with them, and not be stressed about my business. And not be stressed about creating plans for the next year and trying to take the time that's necessary to do that, because it is quite a bit of time to create a plan like that. It's a good amount of work, and I think a lot of people underestimate that. So I want this process to be done by December 1, fully baked, so that when I hit the holidays, I can enjoy them, I can take time off, I can be with my kids, I can go skiing and not be stressed about what's gonna happen January 1. So I would encourage you to adjust your schedule like I've adjusted my schedule or something similar to it. And then the first step in the planning process, I know a lot of people don't have a process that they really are confident in or know why they're doing what they're doing. They maybe feel like, they're supposed to do some sort of review of the business of the last year and come up with just some higher goals for the next year, but that's not a plan. That's just kind of hoping that next year is going to be better. And I believe in creating an absolutely formulaic plan for success. And the first step in that planning process is to get very clear on my business's growth equation. Okay, and a growth equation sounds a little fancy. We're introducing some math here, right? But what a growth equation is exactly as it sounds. It's documenting these key components, activities and measures and things like that determine whether or not your business grows or not. Okay, so it's a way of getting really clear about those variables that will impact growth, so that you can be sure that your plan takes those variables into account and has a plan for each of those variables. And the far majority of entrepreneurs that I meet and talk to, most of them are sub 10 million in revenue, smaller teams, more lifestyle businesses, and they don't know their growth equation. They don't have it clear. I mean, it's generally they get it, but they're missing a lot of growth opportunity because they're not really clear, and so they don't have a really clear plan in place that takes those variables into account. So what I thought I'd do is hop over to my screen here and walk through what a growth equation looks like. I'm going to show you a growth equation for Amazon, and then I'll show you a growth equation for one of my businesses so that you can see, Amazon's a business we all understand, we all know. It helps to see that equation tied to something like that we all know really well. And then the business that I'm going to walk you through my growth equation for, it's an online business. It's a lifestyle business. It's about building an email list and being able to send out offers and things like that. Very common internet marketing style model, so that you'll be able to see what a growth equation looks like in that business as well. When you have this really clear, again, that's the first step in coming up with a really clear plan to optimize that equation and grow your business. All right, let's hop over to my screen here and I'll show you what I'm talking about. This is something that I got actually from Sean Ellis from his hacking growth approach. And, we have always been very metric driven in the way that we run our businesses and the way that we think about our businesses and track our businesses. But this is a way of just really simplifying, thinking about, hey, what are the key metrics that are driving growth at your business, and how do they kind of all work together? So this is an exercise in thinking through what are the key events that impact my business growth, and what are the metrics associated with those. And then clearly documenting that so it's very visible to you and anybody else in your organization if you have a team. And then the third step in this approach, which is what we've been teaching you with our predictable growth marketing frameworks, is to systematically measure and experiment in each. Okay, once you've documented this growth equation, you now know the key areas where, when we say, hey, make sure you're running experiments, you now know the key areas that you should be running experiments in all the time. Okay, so what is meant by a growth equation? I think the simplest way is to just show you some growth equations so that you can see. This is Digital Marketing Lab's growth equation. Okay, so Digital Marketing Lab, you guys are familiar, information marketing business. We sell information products. We've got cold traffic going. We've got membership, right, to Growth Insiders. So here is our growth equation. Impressions. Okay, so are we getting our products, out there to the world, right? Impressions times click-through rate. Okay, the people who are actually responding to those and clicking through, times opt-in rate. Okay, people who are opting in and getting on our email list, times sales conversion rate. So what percentage of those people buy, times ARPU, which is average revenue per user, average revenue per customer, whatever you want to call it, ARPU. Okay, so what is the revenue that we're getting from those transactions? Okay, the more revenue that we can get from that initial transaction, the better, because that allows us to feed our marketing and feed our growth, times conversion rate to subscribers. And specifically what I mean by that is not just an email list subscriber, but a recurring revenue paying subscriber, times subscriber retention rate. Okay, if you are hanging on to your subscribers longer, your business grows more easily because you're stacking revenue on top of each other, right? If people churn, then you are not stacking revenue on top of each other. So growth becomes harder. Okay, that's our business growth formula right there, simply. Okay, impressions, click-through rate, opt-in rate, sales conversion rate, right? Those are all steps of a funnel, essentially. ARPU, right? Conversion rate to subscribers, and then subscriber retention rate. That is our formula, our equation for growing this business. And what I like about this is it's just nice and simple. Yeah, exactly, Tenny. Tenny says elegant. Yes, it's just nice and simple to be able to communicate to anybody in your team or to yourself. Okay, it's just as important, maybe more important, to be able to just communicate to yourself very clearly, hey, what are the key steps and the key metrics that I need to be looking at to grow my business? If I improve any of these metrics, all other things remaining equal, my business grows. If I improve all of these metrics, all other things remaining equal, my business grows like wildfire, right? So it's nice to be able to just put it out there simply. Again, if you have members on your team and you're trying to train them on how they can impact, the growth of your business, right? This is it. Hey, look, the person that I've hired to optimize my ads or whatever it is, you control click-through rate and opt-in rate, right? So, I've hired you to focus on that. And here's how that fits into the overall growth equation at our business, right? That's very, very meaningful to somebody when you're giving them that kind of clarity and insight to say, here's what you are doing. Here's how that is impacting the growth of our business. Okay, nice and clear. Now let me share with you Amazon's growth equation. And I did not make this up. I got this from an article about Amazon. Okay, Amazon's growth equation. Vertical expansion. Okay, so vertical expansion, that is like, essentially major product lines. We have sporting goods, we have books, we have kitchen, ware, whatever it is, right? Vertical expansion times product inventory per vertical. Okay, can we put more choice out there for the people who come to our store? Times traffic per product page times conversion to purchase times average purchase value times repeat purchases. Okay, and in terms of Amazon's retail business, that is their growth equation. Okay, nice and simple. Nice and simple. Very totally clarifying though, right? You can see Amazon's strategy laid out in this equation, right? You can see, oh, well, no wonder Amazon is, going and putting every vertical under the sun into their store. And no wonder they're making every product available at their store, right? And then you can see all of the things that they're doing to impact each of these numbers. Well, how do I get repeat purchasers? Well, I sign them up for Prime. I make it, free shipping. I, make speed of delivery that much faster than my competition, all of those things, because they know that driving repeat purchases back is critical to their growth equation. Okay. Does that make sense to everybody? And does everybody seeing how just having a nice, simple growth equation like this can really help you get clear on, when Mike is saying, hey, run experiments and measure results and track metrics, what we're talking about here, we're talking about putting together this nice, simple equation that clearly articulates, hey, here are the major variables in my business and the metrics that I'm going to use to track them. And if you, by the way, have any questions about what your growth equation should be, please ask them here or put them into the group, okay? Chat them into the Facebook group, and I'm glad to give feedback. Josh is glad to give feedback. And, the reality is, the equation for many of us is essentially the same, right? It's not like, not very many of us are doing like these crazy, ambitious new business models. I mean, for the most part, we're all driving traffic to an e-commerce store or to a website, or we're doing B2B sales and we have to sign up clients and keep clients. Okay. So, this is not, it's not that we're all going to have these dramatically different equations. There may be slight differences based on the, types of products or services that you're offering, but for the most part, they're going to be pretty darn similar. Okay, so I'm sure you can see now how helpful it is to have real clarity around that equation. When you have that equation documented, you know all of the key variables that are going to lead to growth in your business. And when you have clarity on what those key variables are, you can make sure that your plan that you put in place takes into account each of those key variables and what activities you're going to do to optimize each variable. And that's how you create a plan where you can get predictable growth, where you can get growth that's based on really actionable steps and not just hope, okay? My favorite saying in business is hope is not a strategy. So create a growth plan that optimizes around that growth equation, and you can have confidence and you can run with it and you can see the results, I promise you. All right, so if you'd like additional training on this topic, look for a link somewhere around this video. I have a good amount of content on this I can share with you on how to create your equation, some of the lessons that I've learned in the process of doing that I think will be real helpful for you. Whatever you do, get started on your planning process now. Create a predictable growth plan that you can have confidence in so that when January 1 comes, you hit the ground running, okay? You come out of the gates fast, out of the gates hard, and you create that momentum in the next year, all right? Good luck to you. Take care.